Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the final edition of John Wooden's Playbook for Life and Leadership. My name is Maria Kutcher, and we are going to be going through the final top of the pyramid block, which is competitive greatness. Can't wait to get started, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Coach Craig Impleman to kick us off here.
Thank you, Maria. Welcome to Competitive Greatness. We got a little side road we got to take, and that is the mortar on the pyramid, because today Coach Wooden's going to talk about competitive greatness. You see that top block and the two little pieces of mortar that hold it in place, faith and patience. And then on your own, down the side of each side of the pyramid, there's other little pieces of mortar. Imagine that pyramid as a physical structure, and that mortar is concrete that holds the blocks together. There's a Wooden's Wisdom that you already have written on each of these little items. To give you a very easy example, if you look at the bottom right, you see enthusiasm and intentness, and it's sincerity that holds those two things together. So if people trust you, they're likely to be enthusiastic about you and want to hang in for the long run. But competitive greatness is a result of all these blocks. Coach Wooden, give us the short preview and a teaser on that definition.
Coach, how about let's go to competitive greatness. Again, I think you've got a very unique and powerful perspective on really what it means to be a great competitor. Could you share that with our audience tonight?
Well, that's another poem. That,
but even the definition.
Yes. Well, definition is being at your best when your best is needed.
Now, I know you were waiting for that poem, audience. You're going, where's the poem, Craig? We're going to get you the poem, but you got to listen to Coach Wooden talk about the rest of competitive greatness, how it's a result of all the blocks below it. Coach, finish your thought.
And these things, all these things will lead up to the top block and make you competitive. They'll make you enjoy it when it's difficult. There's more pleasure in being involved in something that's difficult than there is in being involved in something that anybody else could do. Most of our daily tasks that you and I have and we do, anybody else could do, most of them. They're easy, but there's no joy in those. But there is joy in being involved in something that is more difficult. There are alumni at UCLA Hall, I was there. Of course they've changed, I'm sure they've changed, but they felt that there was joy in beating some team by 50 points. There was no joy in that. Not much, that is. There's real joy in playing against someone about your own level of competency. That's the joy. There's the joy in the competition. That brings real joy.
Maria, your thoughts. Enjoyment of a difficult challenge.
I love it. I mean, just the word joy, right? And daily versus more complex, difficult tasks, right? Like people can cook. There's no joy in cooking. There's no joy in doing laundry, right? But for those that are serious about cooking, there, the book, The Joy of Cooking, came out because these were more complex recipes and beautiful presentations, and you could have joy of cooking, which is so much different than just daily slapping something together or throwing it in the microwave, right? And as you turn to financial advisors, it's the joy of competition, of helping others reach their goals. It's the joy of the gratitude that clients come back to financial advisors. Why do financial advisors do what they do? It's because they get this feedback from clients saying, thank you so much for helping me plan for my kids' college education, plan for my retirement, know that the funds that I've just saved over the past 50 years of working are now going to last me for 30 years in retirement. And I won't run out. I feel confident. That brings joy to financial advisors. Back to you, Coach.
Great transition, Maria. Loving it when it's tough. enjoyment of a difficult challenge, that's the real secret sauce. Let's hear from Coach. The great competitor, first of all, prepares. John Wooden.
The poem says, beyond the winning and the goal, beyond the glory and the fame, he feels the flame within his soul, born of the spirit of the game. And where the barriers may wait, built up by the opposing gods, he finds a new and deeper thrill to take him uphill, to take him on the uphill spin, because the test is greater still and something he can revel in. The competitor enjoys it when it's difficult and revels in it. But you can't do that unless you're prepared, and failure to prepare is preparing to fail.
Great competitors doesn't get hyped up. Great competitors prepared. Maria, is that important?
It definitely is. And, as it relates to the financial services industry, preparedness can be thought of as, the studying and the case studies and the experience in working with unique financial, puzzles. And financial designations and licenses are a great method of really proving to others that you have prepared thoroughly for the different areas and subspecialties in finance, right? Whether it's divorce planning or, again, education funding, or really understanding how the Social Security system and Medicare work. You can get credentialed in many of these areas. Look at the certified public accountant, right? The CPA designation. But that, along with advisors having a fire in their belly, is what, in helping solve, financial puzzles for their clients, and preparing accordingly is what it's all about. Preparedness. Back to you, Coach.
Great application, Maria. The great competitor raises the level of everybody else on the team. In sports, you see it when that one person's in the game, everybody else plays harder because of the example. This is one of my favorite poems. A little fellow follows me. Listen very carefully.
A selfish request. Every camp ended the exact same way. We started camp with learning how to put on our shoes and socks, but we finished camp the exact same way with a poem, The Little Fellow Follows Me. I was wondering if we could wrap it up with the story behind the little fellow that follows me and that poem, please.
In 1936, my son was born, and I taught English at the high school in South Bend, and I just finished a project editing a book for Harcourt Racing Company, and they sent me the check, which is the reason I did it, and they sent me a set of encyclopedias. I'll bet there were that many. If you look against the Book of Knowledge today, you'd say, well, I guess not much happened before 1936, but I think they did. But they also sent me a picture, which I had framed, and it's in my condo today, and it's always been where I could see it every day when I'm there. It was a picture of a man walking along the seashore with his little son, trying to step in his father's footsteps in the sand before the wind whisked them away. And there's some lines along the side that say this: a careful man I must always be, a little fellow follows me. I know I dare not go astray, for fear he'll go the self-same way. I cannot once escape his eyes, whate'er he sees me do, he tries. Like me, he says he's going to be, this little chap who follows me. He thinks that I am good and fine, believes in every word of mine. The base in me he must not see, this little chap who follows me. I must be careful as I go through summer's sun and winter's snow, because I am building for the years to be this little chap who follows me. And that's just like all of you. You're building somebody. There's somebody watching you. Be careful.
Boy, Maria, when he says there's somebody watching you, be careful, I just goes right to my heart. Maria?
Wow, I know, exactly. And this is, not just in relation to, your kids, but also your spouse, your other family members, but also your clients and your teammates and your coworkers in your office. Everybody's watching you, right? And many of them look up, especially those of us that have 20, 30 years experience by now, right? And others, I have a gal on my team who's much younger than me, and she verbally just said recently that she really looks forward to working with me, and she plans on learning from me. So now I feel like, wow, I really better stay on the right kind of mentoring mode here, right? And know that she's watching and learning from me. And I feel a great responsibility now, but it's also, I enjoy it because I love educating as well. And and again, it's not just what I say, what I type in my emails and what I say on our calls, but it's also, again, body language that can send clear messages as well. So be careful, right? We know people that, especially celebrities, that may get up on stage and may not be the best example, but you can always recover. That's the point. And but just great words. Be careful. People are watching how you're teaching somebody and you're mentoring somebody, whether you know it or not. So be careful. Back to you, Coach.
Nothing I can add to that. That's beautifully put. Somebody's watching. Be careful. So in John Wooden's version of The Great Competitor, you don't get psyched up for a big game. You don't kick it in another gear. He didn't believe in 110%. He didn't like emotion. He loved intensity. And he believed that you work hard every day. In this great poem, How to Be a Champion, let's hear it from Coach Wooden.
Well, Grant Rice was a great sports writer. No, you remember him because he wrote in the 20s and 30s. Of course, I remember him, but you don't. And he wrote something, How to Be a Champion, and said, in part, you wonder how they do it. You look to see the knack. You watch the foot in action, or the shoulder, or the back. But when you spot the answer where the higher glamours lurk, you find in moving higher up the laurel-covered spire that the most of it is practice and the rest of it is work. There's no substitute for work. Don't be looking for the shortcut, the easy way, the trick. Work.
Now you can see in front of my face, maybe not. This is a book, John Wooden's book, The Best of Grantland Rice. The Best of Grantland Rice. So that's where Coach Wooden learned all these things, by working. Maria?
Yes, absolutely. Working hard every day. The harder you work, right? I'm a big believer in luck. And I find the harder I work, the more I have of it. Thank you, Ron Yee, our producer of this show, who found this quote from Thomas Jefferson. And I also love the other quote here from a Roman philosopher named Seneca. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right? So it really just boils down to hard work. There's no shortcut. And that is definitely one of the drivers of competitive greatness. Back to you, Coach.
Great point mentioned, and no shortcut, Maria. Now, the great competitor can handle adversity, no matter what happens. John Wooden learned that from his dad. Let's hear about that.
The influence that your father had in your life, Coach, the most important lessons, you mentioned a few that you learned from your dad. How about dealing with adversity? I know your father went through some very challenging things in his life, as your mom did. What were those important lessons on dealing with adversity?
Well, he never complained at all. I think he had reason to complain on occasions, and when we lost the farm, he didn't blame anybody, and I think somebody should have been blamed, and he just accepted the thing and wouldn't tolerate his sons being critical of other people. we used to try to catch him, you know, as you're getting older. We couldn't catch him, but we'd try. But he was a calming influence. He learned to accept things, and I think it was a great help to me without my realization when I eventually got into teaching sports. Learning to accept things, and I think I was able to do that primarily for him. For example, my senior year in high school, we lost a championship game by 1 point, the very last, and I think everybody on our team cried, except me. I didn't cry, and I'm sure I felt as badly as the others, but I think that I'd been taught that do the best you can and accept that and accept the consequences. And I believe that came from Dad, and I think I carried on a lot of things. I tried to get my basketball teams to always accept things, and I never wanted excessive exuberation because you outscore somebody in the game, nor did I want excessive dejection if you're outscored in the game, because if you know, and you're the only one who know that you've done the proper things to prepare yourself for the game, there's nothing to be sorry about. And I believe that I was able to do that reasonably well. Not 100%, but reasonably well.
How does the ability to accept adversity, Maria, fit in your profession?
Wow. There is a lot of adversity here in this profession. But again, it's important to really try to handle it without whining, accepting it. I have used probably 1,000 times raising my kids. Make lemonade out of lemons. Life is nothing but lemons being thrown at you periodically. Sometimes a whole bag of them at a time, right? Sometimes a slice, but sometimes an entire bag of lemons hits you. It falls out of the sky and just hits you. But you need to make lemonade out of lemons. Overcome the adversity in today's market with preparation and hard work on the things you can control. So there's a lot of adversity here with geopolitics, with rising inflation, with soaring gas and food prices. There is always adversity in the marketplace here as well. And it's just important to take a deep breath, stay calm and do the best you can and make the lemonade out of the lemons every time you're faced with adversity. Back to you, Coach.
Maria, great point. If Coach thought if he stayed calm, the players would stay calm, and I hear you loud and clear. Now, Coach Wooden was asked on many occasions, how were you able to maintain excellence over such a long period of time? What did you do to not become complacent? His answer is simple and straightforward. Take it away, Coach.
You did 10 national championships, 7 in a row. Once you started winning those championships, how did you maintain your commitment to excellence without it all getting complacent?
Well, I've always tried to teach that today is the only day over which you have control. What happened yesterday will not have any control over what happens today, except learn from it. You'll never know a thing you didn't learn from someone in the past. Yesterday you learned from the past, but it's not going to affect what you do today. Tomorrow will be affected by what you do today. Today is the only day that amounts to anything, and I tried to use that philosophy with my players to try to just become a little better each day. I love poetry, and many of my players know that. Many write me poems. One has written me over 100 poems, and he's pretty good. And he wrote one. He's written a poem on almost every maxim I've used, and on all the blocks of my pyramid and all that. But one he wrote, entitled today, one verse in his verse. He says, "Coach, you're a hunter and a seeker, not for silver or for gold, not for treasure or for pleasure or for anything that's sold. You're a connoisseur of living as you move along life's way with no worries of tomorrow, for you have found today." That's what I tried to teach. Today is the only day you can do anything about it. And you can't just say it, you gotta do it, and you gotta repeat it. Repetition is one of the laws of learning, and it must be used over and over.
What's the importance of that in financial planning, Maria?
It really is. There's I think speaking of social media and posts and whatnot, there is the hashtag better every day. Hashtag better every day. And that's, I think, what he's really referring to. Evaluate yourself every day, celebrate the joys, improve your weaknesses, eliminate the threats, and look for opportunities. And again, it's really about the repetition. Repetition is one of the laws of learning. And then what that results in is the feeling of a job well done and the joy of waking up and doing what we like to do every day, right? So better, hashtag better every day. Back to you,
I'm
Coach.
gonna have to check it out, Maria. I didn't even know that existed. I got to get on my game. Hashtag better every day. All right. Thanks, Maria. The great competitor keeps proper perspective. I'll let Coach tell you instead of me telling you. Coach, explain that idea.
How do you keep things in perspective when you receive a medal like that, or you're honored throughout the country as one of the great teachers and one of the great statesmen, and one of the great coaches of all time? How do you keep perspective?
Well, you have to realize that it wasn't you, it was the people that helped you along the way. And for example, I wouldn't be here if I hadn't had fortunate enough to have a lot of great basketball players who won a number of national championships. I wouldn't have been here if they hadn't have done that. And it wasn't, I hope I had a little help, but without the talent, you'd never be here. So you can't let those things carry you away. I think the strength of a person's character is their ability to accept both the highs and the lows and not let either one of them have an adverse effect on them. If you permit it, either the highs or the lows, if they affect you, it'll be adversely, it won't be positively.
Maria, what are your thoughts on that proper perspective idea?
It really is. It's not about you. It's always really remembering that it's others that have lifted you up in life, in your career, in your job, everywhere that you have succeeded. There are others that have helped you get there. And again, it's really, the strength of a person's character and respecting others' roles on the team, and embracing, the inclusion of everyone having a voice on your team, and remembering that and acknowledging that everybody's important on the team, no matter how small a job they have, how important, how, client facing it is, or back office and administration and compliance and supervision are all very crucial components of being able to work with clients effectively. So include everybody on the team and keep that proper perspective. Back to you, Coach.
Maria, you make me think about that often repeated Coach Wooden quote: the star of the team is the team. That's what the great competitor thinks. Now, the great competitor has patience, but I want to emphasize for Coach Wooden, patience was not sitting around and just waiting. Coach, let's talk about patience. See, it's right there up on the top, that little piece of mortar. And he put that right on top of competitive greatness. That's how important it is.
I'm just going to talk about the top two, leading up from competitive greatness to the top success. According to my definition, up at the apex, on one side I have patience, and on the other side I have faith. You need those two things. You must understand that good things take time. You must be patient. Now, I suspect that many of us are impatient with our youth. Youth, they want to change lots of things. They think that maybe that all change is progress. And as we get older, though, we sometimes we're stuck with the status quo, and we forget that there is no progress without change. Youth thinks that all change is progress, but it isn't. But as we get older, we got to realize that there is no progress without change. But we must have patience. Good things take time.
All change doesn't result in progress, but all progress is a result of change. Maria, that's one of the very most important Coach Wooden ideas I've learned. Over to you.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, The goal of pretty much everybody here at the company is growing their business. And you can't grow with doing the same thing that you're doing, right? There's always fine tuning. There's always improving yourself every day, getting better every day. And that requires really looking at your business, looking at your client service model and saying, how can we change what we have to get better, right? Because getting better, if we change, get better, our business will grow, right? We should be getting more referrals from happier clients and more satisfied clients from a job well done. So again, and then when you add patience, give it time to see and to get feedback from the changes that you implement on your team and in your practice. Did clients like it? What was the feedback? Should we continue doing that? I think there was something that we did every year in a business plan is looking at your practice and saying, should we keep doing what we do? Should we stop doing what we do? Or should we do something new? Right? So it's keep, stop, or something new. And you looked at every component of the practice and, it really helped to analyze every aspect and to know which ones were effective and which ones were not. And maybe there's something that you haven't implemented yet that should start being incorporated into your plan. So, but again, it comes down to patience, as well as you need to change in order to progress. So back to you, Coach.
That's a great combination, Maria. Change and patience. The leader, the great competitor, keeps the faith. Coach Wooden. Put that right there. I always found it not curious, but I sometimes forget. He thought these two things were so important. He didn't put them on the side. He put them on the very top of the pyramid. So to get to success, you got to go through faith and patience. Coach?
And we must have faith that these things are going to work out. The way we want them to? No, not necessarily. Work out the way they should work out, providing that we do what we should to make it become reality. Too often we just want things to work out the way we want them to, but we don't want to pay the price, so to speak, of doing the things that would help that become reality. So those are the things that I thought about in working up this pyramid.
Belief, faith, Maria, your thoughts. Oh!
Absolutely. We have got to have faith. A classic from George Michael for those that need a refresher on that composer. You got to have faith. You've got to have buy-in into your own expectations of the payoff that you expect. Or you won't go all in. You won't invest fully. You won't be committed. So again, you have to have the faith in your expected payoff. And then invest in it and expect it, work for it, and it should come true if you've properly prepared. Back to you, Coach.
That's a great perspective, Maria, on applying the idea of faith and belief. The great competitor holds themselves accountable. The only person who can fix your life is you. They don't blame other people. It's a great poem coming up. Listen closely.
There was a Major League Baseball umpire by the name of George Moriarty. I don't know if any of you heard of him or not. He was a well-known umpire back long ago. I guess you wouldn't have known anything about it. But he spelled Moriarty with only one I, and I never saw it spelled that way. But he did with only one I, which was a terrible mistake. Because Major League Baseball umpires, they notice things like that. And he was often accused of the fact that even though there was only one I in his name, that was one more than he had in his head. But he wrote something that I think brings out what I tried to do in the development of this pyramid. He called it the road ahead or the road behind. And he said, sometimes I think The fates must grin as we denounce them and insist the only reason we can't win is because the fates themselves have missed. Yet there lives on the ancient claim, we win or lose within ourselves. The shining trophies on our shelves can never win tomorrow's game. You and I know deeper down, there's always a chance to win the crown. But when we fail to give our best, we simply haven't met the test of giving all and saving none until the game is really won, of showing what is meant by grit, of fighting on when others quit, of playing through, not letting up. It's bearing down that wins the cup. Of dreaming there's a goal ahead, of hoping when our dreams are dead, of praying when our hopes have fled, yet losing, not afraid to fall, if gamely we have given all. For who can ask more of a man than giving all within his span? Giving all, it seems to me, is not so far from victory. And so the fates are seldom wrong. No matter how they twist and wind, it's you and I who make our fates. We open up or close the gates on the road ahead or the road behind. And I think that is definitely true. It's within ourselves. There's so much truth when Dad said, don't whine, don't complain, don't make excuses. Just do the best of what you're capable. Make the effort, do the best of what you're capable. Never can do it 100%, but you can always make the effort.
Wow. You're going to get all these poems in your workbook. Read them out loud. Maria, what do you think about that?
Wow. I am just thoroughly impressed that he can memorize so many poems. Number one, that's just my first thought right there. And such a beautiful long poem that he memorizes and that he illustrates, and just the passion that he has in really understanding every single word in that. It's unbelievable, actually. But regards to accountability, it really comes down to you've got to hold yourself accountable, right? Nobody else is going to be taking care of you in life. Nobody else is going to love you more than you love yourself. And so it comes down to, just as you're sitting out on the airplane, put your oxygen mask on first before you help others, right? And take care of yourself first, hold yourself accountable. I think this could be one of the most difficult of the 9 to reach competitive greatness. And I sense that a lot of people fall short in this last requirement here to maintain accountability, because people let it go, right? You mean to get up every year, you mean to start every year on a full workout schedule, right? You get to the gym and you're going to those classes and it just kind of dies down, right? And same with, working and keeping that motivation, never stop learning, right? It's hashtag never stop learning, hashtag better every day. But how do you hold yourself accountable? And each person is going to be different, right? Some people can hold themselves accountable fairly easily. They set their alarm, they snap out of bed, they get on with their day, they accomplish their tasks, they're kind of task oriented. Others need a little bit more help. And those are the people that might want to reach out to you, coach, after this program ends and hire you, because that's what professional coaches do, is they hold their clients accountable. Those weekly check-ins, right? They kind of force you to get something done during that week, because if you're going to be calling and checking in, they better have some progress reports, right? And that's what can really help people is having that accountability buddy. If you're on a team and you have other team members, you want to ask the other team members to be your accountability buddy, right? Find somebody, pay somebody, right? To hold yourself accountable, or better yet, hold yourself accountable and do it yourself, right? Show yourself that you can hold yourself accountable. And with all those 9 items here, competitive greatness is pretty well guaranteed, right?
Awesome job, Maria. Just great. And so we're here at the Apex Success. It's been such a honor and a pleasure to work with you, Marie, and the big kudos to our producer, Ron Yee, who in the background has put all this brilliant content together in a way that we can all enjoy it. You'll get your habits to work on, and hopefully you're picking something out. I love this idea. I taught in retail when I coached retail. We love a difficult customer. We work in a dental office. I taught them we love the worst patient. We can't wait till they get here because you got to love a difficult challenge. I mean, that's the best there is. And this simple definition, man, if you can lock in on that, great things will happen. Now, we've been saying next month. Now I got to tell you, for the rest of your life, you've got lots of content to work with. You've got PowerPoints, everything we've done. You got videos of every presentation that we've made. You've got 50 to 70 page workbooks from each presentation. You get the Wooden's Wisdom Library. The tools are there. The tools are there. Now, it's up to you, and I don't mean to be mean, and I should be nice like John Wooden, but I'm not. You want to get better or not? That's kind of the, and if you don't want to get better, that's okay. But just recognize the difference. And as Coach Wooden says, keep working on it. Now, here's your trivia question. I held the man's book up. What is the name of the sports writer who wrote the poem, How to Be a Champion? This is a great book we're giving out this week. Very nice little desktop book to keep around. So we'll see how we go. This particular gentleman was best friends with Babe Ruth. That's how he became a famous sports writer. So we'll see if we get that right. I've already mentioned the tools. Maria, all I can do is say thank you for giving Ron and I the opportunity to do this with you. You're awesome.
Thank you so much, Coach Imp. And thank you again to Ron Yee, who has been, without Ron, this production, this 12-month program would never have been possible.
No way.
He's done so much work working with Coach Imp, going through the archives of all the videos, hundreds of videos and clips, and really curating a custom set of short takes and video clips that are relevant to each one of these building blocks. Has never been done before. And now we have, and now you guys have this wonderful program that can be repeated at other companies and to other teams, and can really help keep the Wooden legacy and the philosophy, which I think is one of the best life philosophies, is how he was raised and his ethics and the morals and his thoughts and his exemplary, I think, style of leadership, which is
Maria, thanks to our sponsors and thanks to UBS, because with the investment of our sponsors and UBS, Ron and I were able to develop over 120 new John Wooden video clips.
Wow.
And I've been at this for 20 years, and this wouldn't happen without your belief and with our sponsors and with UBS. So thank you.
Absolutely. And Ron, would you like to say something?
It's just been a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed seeing the fruits of our labor.
Absolutely. Yeah. And long live the fruit. I think we've created a tree that's going to continue bearing fruit for years, months, years, and decades ahead. So thank you, everyone, for joining us for this wonderful series. We hope that you have 12 awesome workbooks to continue working through and to continue developing your skills, not only for life, but for leadership. And we appreciate you joining us for this program. Thank you and goodbye.